Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to check out another of these brand new Mattel Jurassic Park, this time 30th Anniversary Hammond Collection figures. This time we have the Metriacanthosaurus, and it's actually kind of funny that they would label this as Jurassic Park 30th Anniversary in a way, because although I guess it does technically have a moment in Jurassic Park, it is a dinosaur you never see in any of the Jurassic Park films. But if you can recall to when Dennis Nedry is stealing the DNA and putting it into his cryocan, you will see the Metriacanthosaurus name listed as one of the species that he takes, yet we still have never seen the dinosaur in any of the Jurassic films. But I'm really hyped for this one. I loved the older Metriacanthosaurus figures that they had released, but I think this one is absolutely going to blow all of those other ones out of the water. Definitely going to be the best so far from Mattel. You can see the packaging is pretty much your standard, except now we have the nice Jurassic Park 30th Anniversary logo right there on the front, and then you can see a shot here on the side of our Metriacanthosaurus looking really nice. Of course, the Hammond Collection logo on the other side, and then a shot here on the back actually showing that image there of Dennis Nedry again taking the Metriacanthosaurus sample right there, as well as some information down here, again speaking of that moment. So let's pop this out of the box and check it out. So here is our Metriacanthosaurus, and absolutely is the best version of this dinosaur so far. Like, wow, is that beautiful. I was a huge fan of this the moment I had seen the original promotional images, but here in hand, like, those images do not do this figure justice. This thing looks absolutely gorgeous. I love the sculpt. I love the coloration of this one. Paint all the way out onto the tail. No Duclaw paint, which I can see already, but the nails, of course, are painted. You know, all the things that you always ask for in the main line of Mattel, you do get most of the time in the Hammond Collection. And man, what a gorgeous, gorgeous figure. The Hammond Collection is easily the best thing going when it comes to Mattel. There's just no doubt about that. Followed very quickly, though, by the JP 30th Anniversary line, the 93 Classic line. But again, the figure looks absolutely phenomenal. I'm really hyped to get a closer look at this one, so let's jump to it right now. So, starting up here at the head sculpt of our Metriacanthosaurus, you can see again the skin texture looks really nice, quite vibrant overall. You know, I think it looks a little better here, but it also looks, again, as far as like that really fine skin texture up here on the snout, it definitely looks nice. You can see the nostrils are sculpted out, and I like that they're actually defined with a darker tone of color, because we have like this orangish tone leading over the head and over the snout, and we do actually have a brown in there for the nostrils, which is really cool to see. You can also see the eye is painted quite nicely, except I see that the pupil is actually the dark brown that we have for the body rather than a black pupil, and that is a little bit of a bummer. I think the eye as a whole could have definitely looked a little nicer with a black pupil. It just would have stood out. The pupil itself would have stood out a little bit nicer. You can see more of that orange there down underneath the eye in the eye socket area. You can also see an alternate tone of color up here in the crest of the Metriacanthosaurus. Again, quite a bit of color variation going on here in the snout and face of our dinosaur. You can also see that we have that darker brown here leading up into the lower jaw and very smoothly transitioning back to that lighter tone of the lower jaw and the underside of the dinosaur. The Irritator had a similar look, except for it was more of an abrupt transition, whereas this is a more naturalistic transition with a bit of a smoother look. As you can obviously already tell, we have an articulated jaw, and both the upper and the lower jaws articulate. You can see that the mouth goes open pretty wide, not quite as wide as the Irritator, I would say, but still quite wide. We have a really nice looking tone of color for the inside of the mouth. The tongue is definitely really nicely textured, and the gloss coat is really impressive in the back of the throat. Look at that, compared to everywhere else. Like, there is a glossy look to the inside of the mouth in general, but right there in the way back of the throat, it's super, super glossy. We can also see that the teeth are sculpted pretty nicely, and they're also painted pretty nicely. Again, no sloppiness that I can see anywhere as far as the paintwork on this figure so far. As we move back here into the neck, you begin to pick up some more really nice looking skin texture. You can also see that we have this lighter tone beginning to kind of creep through, which is going to eventually overtake the body color of the dinosaur primarily, but we start out again with a heavy dose of the dark brown with that lighter tone kind of creeping through and turning into almost like a striping effect. And then, of course, this lighter tone here on the underside. You've got some nice skin wrinkles and stuff here in the throat region. As you move down, you see now that that lighter tone of color for the striping right here has now become most of the body color, with the brown kind of turning into a striping as you move down. And I think that looks really nice. You can again see that the skin texture looks great as you move down. You've got the spinal column here moving along the top of the dinosaur. We can also pick out the rib cage. Very reptilian style scaling here in the stomach region of the dinosaur. And then as you move down, you've got some nice muscle definition in the arm. You can also twist the elbow there to correct the wrists because it does come kind of, like pronated, whereas now we can kind of correct the wrists and make them look a little bit better. They do kind of look awkward though, like he stands in kind of a goofy stance with the arms positioned correctly. I don't know if we can fix that, but it doesn't look terrible. Again, you can see some nice looking detailing as you move down the arm. I do see a speckling on the figure as well, something we do often see in the main line of Mattel, and you can see some nice scoots down the fingers as well as some very nicely painted nails, and the nails also sport a nice glossy look. As we move back up here to the neck, we can see that we have an area of articulation right here, which can swivel, and move, of course, left, right, up, down. So it gives you some nice posability for the figure. And then, of course, down here at the base of the neck, you can see, again, another spot that can do all those same things, can totally swivel upside down if you want to kill the poor thing. But you can see, again, you can get some nice poses and nice displays out of the dinosaur. Nice articulation there. As you continue to move along, you can, of course, move the leg to get a better look at the stomach. You can see the skin wrinkles and stuff, and also how smooth the transition is to that lighter tone of the underside. And then you can also see that up here, the dark browns kind of lead down and sort of stripe down, and then transition to sort of like a design here on the spinal column, whereas we now have a lot more of that lighter kind of like a tan color for the majority of the body. As you move down into the thigh, you do see more of that brown kind of leading off of the dark brown striping leading down here that leads into the thigh. You can see the muscle definition. Again, some more nice looking skin texture there. Really crisp detail overall. And I like that right here you can see a very different style of scaling compared to what you see up here. So there's definitely a lot of difference when it comes to the actual sculpt itself. Of course, you have articulation there in the hip, where you can move it very nicely and out away from the body a little bit. You've also got a knee that articulates. It's a little stiff because I haven't really moved it around yet. The knee itself is sculpted very nicely, highlighted in the sculpt, but you can see it's a little jerky, but it works really nicely. And again, a nice calf muscle. And then as you move down, you've got two more areas of articulation. Of course, this is the same style of articulation that you usually have for the Hammond Collection figures, and you've got a lot of mobility into that area again, and all of these areas can swivel just to help you to not only, create different displays, but help your dinosaur to balance if it's sort of leaning to one side. You can kind of twist the ankle out to balance it out a little bit. As you lead up, you've got some more skin wrinkles right here. You can also see the lighter tone disappearing here before we reach the tail, but you can also see, again, this area of articulation for the tail. You can go up, down, left, right, and swivel like usual. But as we do lead out, even though the coloration on the underside disappears, you see that that dark brown does not, and that does run the entire course of the tail, even finishing the tail off with a very nice dark brown tip, and that looks absolutely excellent. And of course, we also have the ability to articulate the tail because we have a wire tail. But man, that is an absolutely epic figure. Like, it looks great no matter where you look at it from. A gorgeous paint scheme, gorgeous sculpt. Of course, it's going to look pretty much the same over here as it did on the initial side, but definitely another really nice addition to the Hammond Collection. Absolutely blowing me away right here. I love this figure. As far as a size goes, for a length, and of course this is in the position it's standing in currently, you can alter this by stretching the legs out, standing the dinosaur more upright, all sorts of things you can do to alter the measurements, but lengthwise you're looking at about the 13.25 inch range, or around 33.5 centimeters, and then for a height, actually the highest point would be that little crest, just shy of about 5.5 inches, or a little under 14 centimeters for a size comparison. Here is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Metriacanthosaurus, and you can see, again, very impressive in the size department. It is absolutely a little bit larger than the Irritator. I would say similar in size probably to the Ceratosaurus, and to show you that for another comparison, there is the Ceratosaurus and Metriacanthosaurus next to each other, and just as I expected, the Metriacanthosaurus is a very, very similar size to the Ceratosaurus. They just have that same kind of bulky looking body to them, so I figured they would absolutely be a very similar size. Then here is the brand new Irritator next to the Metriacanthosaurus as well, just to continue to show you again that the Metriacanthosaurus is a little bit bigger than our Irritator. So that means that the Hammond Collection Baryonyx as well is going to be pretty much the same size there as the Irritator, very similar in size, showing you that again the Metriacanthosaurus is a little bit bigger. We've also got the Ankylosaurus from the Hammond Collection in for a stand-in comparison next to the Metriacanthosaurus, as well as the Velociraptor, which as expected is a bit smaller of course than our Metriacanthosaurus. We've also got the Parasaurolophus, which you can definitely see would be a nice prey item for our Metriacanthosaurus, and very similar in size, I would say the two of these are. They both have a pretty decent sized body. The Metriacanthosaurus is definitely longer, but similar in size other than that. And then one final comparison, we have the Metriacanthosaurus next to the T-Rex from the Hammond Collection, just to show you that again, the T-Rex continues to reign supreme as the king of the dinosaurs when it comes to the size department. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic Park 30th Anniversary Hammond Collection Metriacanthosaurus is absolutely phenomenal, and I would actually say I think I like this better than the Irritator, which is pretty impressive. I knew I was going to love this. I knew it was going to be one of my favorites just because I love the species, I love the sculpt, and I love the paint scheme they had given it. But I didn't realize I was going to love it so much. When I saw the Irritator in my review yesterday, I thought that it was going to be a very hard one to beat out. But as it turns out, I definitely like the Metriacanthosaurus more. The sculpt, again, is gorgeous. So much better than the mainline release. Miles better, I would say, and just as nicely detailed. Of course, the mainline release definitely had some nice detail, but I just feel like as a whole, the entire thing just looks way more appealing here with this version. On top of that, we have a fantastic paint job. I love the paint scheme they've given it. It's all super nice and naturally applied, really smooth through the course of the entire figure, really nice transitioning, really nice designing and patterning, and I like the tones of color chosen. It absolutely looks like it could be the color of this dinosaur, so that is a huge plus again, and the fact that we have that color leading all the way out under the tail is fantastic. On top of that, we have some awesome articulation, as you always have for the Hammond Collection. That's of course one of the most appealing factors of this line, and yet again they knock it out of the park with the articulation on this Metriacanthosaurus. So as a whole, this is yet another must-have, as pretty much every Hammond Collection figure always is. So if you are interested in picking this up, I will include a link in the description to Big Bad Toy Store, where I purchased mine. I believe it currently is up for pre-order. It was in stock, but then it went up for pre-order, so it probably is just a few days, hopefully, before they are back in stock. So make sure you head down to the link in the description, go pre-order this beauty right now. One of the advantages of pre-ordering on Big Bad Toy Store is they don't actually charge you until the figure arrives. So, definitely something to keep in mind. But make sure you go check this out again. Grab yourself this Metriacanthosaurus. Definitely add it to your collection, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.